Good morning and welcome to the November 16th, 2021 meeting of the City Council of Walnut Creek's Subcommittee on Housing and Community Development. For the record, let it show that both Councilmember Darling and Councilmember Silva, the members of the committee, are present. I will note that under California law, public comments at special meetings are limited to subjects on the agenda only. Therefore, public comment will take place during items on the discussion calendar. And so those that wish to speak will be called upon at that time. The first item will be the approval of the minutes of both June 2nd, 2021 and August 3rd, 2021. Councilmember Darling, do you have any corrections to those minutes?
No, and I'll move to approve.
And I will second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved unanimously. My apologies. The next item is the discussion items. It's an update from the Community Development Director and his department on different items that we are under consideration.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Mark Wardlaw, Community Development Director. We have a couple of update items for you today. First is our progress on preparing for Senate Bill 9. We are working to return to the council with a proposed urgency ordinance on December 21st. As you know, SB 9 is effective January 1st, 2022, and will establish new laws and regulations related to the subdivision and development of additional units on single-family residential zones. For it to be effective, a proposed development under SB 9 must be permitted in a single-family zone in an urbanized area and not within a sensitive area. And it cannot demolish or alter certain affordable or rent-controlled or occupied housing elements. The information that we will bring to you in the urgency ordinance will include information relative to the number of parcels that would be affected within the city of Walnut Creek and parcels by their size. We'll look at a range of subdivision sizes and explain how the law would apply and what options would be proposed to affect large lots, small and medium lots. We'll also identify the hazards that would limit or affect the implementation of the law: very high and high fire risk areas, seismic areas, Alquist Priola zones, and then flood impacts. We'll propose in comparative tables associated and relative to the existing development standards and our ADU standards, the design and development regulations that the City Council considers that may be included for objective design and development standards. So we're on progress with that, and that information will be presented in December.
And you said that was the December 21st meeting.
December 21st.
Thank you.
Yes. The next item I'd like to update you on is the progress of our housing element. The City Council approved a contract with Harris and Associates, and in this October, we kicked off the housing element update with the consultant team. And we will begin in late January through early April public meetings and workshops. The staff team is working with Harris. They're now developing the information, including the arena analysis. Our project manager for this housing element update is Nancy Brigado with Brigado Planning, and she's augmenting our internal staff to keep us on track and on time. Our intended schedule looks for a first draft of the housing element to be available for public review in May of 2022. And that'll be a 30-day public review period. And then we intend to meet our schedule by submitting a draft housing element for HCD review, which is a 90-day review process in the summer of 22. And then ultimately, we're looking to come to the Planning Commission and Council in January of 2023 for hearings. And then final deadline for City Council adoption is in January, late January 2023. And then HCD certification of that housing element is to occur by May 2023. So far, we're on track and we're on schedule, and we haven't experienced any issues to date.
Councilmember Darling, do you have some questions? And I have one or two as well.
I just have a couple quick questions. When you presented to the Chamber of Commerce last week before, there was some question raised in the chat about whether or not our strategy that the city has taken to try to concentrate new development in denser areas closer to transit as part of sustainability was in violation of federal equal housing. And I was not sure exactly where that would. what that meant.
Through the chair, I think that their concern might be with the FP programs, which are intended to make sure there's not some form of discrimination associated with a housing element. But otherwise, I think what the housing elements are going to be shaped by will be other state policies as well, such as VMT reductions. So I don't expect any issues associated with the implementation of the general plan and the housing element from that perspective.
Thanks.
So do you think that question was aimed at that our overarching zoning approach, which is to put greater density, which has been in existence since the 1960s, which the greater density is downtown near transit and transportation infrastructure in downtown, that is somehow discriminatory?
I can speak to that if you'd like. What Director Wardlaw is referring to is the AFFH for affirmatively furthering fair housing statutes under federal law.
Right.
And basically, as they apply to this situation, and what I'm assuming was the issue raised during the chamber meeting is that we can't concentrate, new housing, specifically affordable housing, in areas that are disadvantaged with regard to services, with regard to the community living there. In the case of Walnut Creek, I do anticipate we would probably be looking at, of course, and we've gone on the record saying as such, focusing our growth in the core area. However, the core area is equally well served by good schools, good parks, good everything else. In fact, probably better served, more well served. I should check with my mother, the former English teacher, and then compared to the rest of the city. And so I don't really believe that there would be, at least with regard to the provision of services, the ability to, or there would be a realistic challenge to that. There is, of course, potential for, displacement, things of that nature. And so those are things that we'll have to keep an eye out on, especially with regard to identification of housing opportunity sites. However, for the most part, just looking at our recent planning efforts in North and West downtown, I would say most of the housing opportunity areas are on properties that are not currently developed with housing. And so we wouldn't, displacement is less of a concern than it might otherwise be.
Thanks. I think that really helped me understand what the issue was, and that we're addressing it well and what we're doing.
And I came in a few minutes late on that meeting last week, and so I think that might have been from the same person that got it. I did have a question about the timeline. So does the city council or this committee, on behalf of the city council, see the draft housing element at which points in time?
Make sure I have this right, Andy. So we'll prepare a draft. We'll submit it to HCD for their technical review.
And that's the summer.
That's the summer. And then after we've made changes to that, we'll present it in a draft form to the council, and then to the planning commission, and to the council, and that will be in January 23.
And so if we want to follow along, we need to follow it separately from our own meetings as a city council.
Right, and we will hold, and we'll make sure that we hold appropriate workshops with the planning commission and the council in this, so there will be no surprises, and you have time and ability to review the policies, review the analyses, and it will not be a surprise to you.
Is that before it goes to HCD for technical review or after they've? Because somehow, if there are new policies and we haven't looked at it as a council, but HCD gets to see it first, is there a risk that HCD falls in love with one of our new policies that we don't necessarily approve?
I would have to double check our current work plan schedule on that, but I will say that if through the process of creating the draft element, if there's any, new and wild policies, or even not wild, but new policies, we would take appropriate steps to, of course, vet those internally, well, by internally, I mean, as well as with the city council, not just at staff level, before sending it off to Sacramento for a first pass review.
And it seems to have triggered some thought for Councilmember Darling.
I was so my assumption has always been that as you're coming up with that draft next spring, that some of the workshops will involve the work of this subcommittee, or is it likely to just get workshopped to the council as a whole?
I think that it's probably wise for us to bring it to you so you can see the details. And then if there are any particularly challenging policies, you can weigh in on them before we go public.
Okay. Just being mindful, of course, that we don't work separately from the council. We are doing their work. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. You have an update on the small home village development?
Yes, so they have not yet filed an application, and we stay in close contact with this particular group that's advancing the program. And in fact, Andy recently, last month, attended a project-related workshop in the Rossmore community. So nothing yet, but we do stay engaged with them, and we'll certainly let you know when they actually begin the application process.
So thank you on that. Any other projects or program work that you want to put on your update?
No, that completes our report for you today.
Councilmember Darling, any further questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, and I really appreciate the update. I know this is going to be a brief meeting, but this is the opportunity for public comment on the items that are on the agenda, which would have been SB 9, the housing element, and the small home village development. Do we have anyone who wishes to make public comment?
Okay, we have Jan Warren. I'll be bringing her in.
Whose voice was, oh, that was Matt Bolander's. That's like God. Good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
I was a little panicked when I got on here and it looked like y'all were gonna be downtown. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have to hustle downtown?
Well, we wish we were where you are. if you
Yeah,
were at
I
home
bet.
computers.
Okay. Anyhow, my comment, yeah, I've been wondering for a while now about the process for housing element, because I know Clayton's been doing stuff since summer and Danville, and I'm like, what is Walnut Creek doing? My question involves around, you say January to start off the public involvement, and then through early April. So when in January will that kick off? That doesn't sound like tons of time. And will you start promoting that date before January?
Yeah, so thank you through the chair.
Mr. Ward, let me just, Jan, do you have any other comments? Because if that's your question, we'll have Mr. Wardlaw answer it. I would just want to be mindful of how public comments is supposed to work.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Wardlaw.
Thank you again through the chair. So our public workshops will start in January, and we'll have a series of interactive virtual public workshops. And in addition to that, through those formally scheduled meetings, we'll have other various forms of outreach that will include email blasts, we'll have a survey, and we'll have a dedicated web page to collect input and to inform the community. We'll have various social media postings, and we also intend to hold stakeholder group, focus group meetings. So that work will start in January, and we'll have plenty of time to, advertise them so people can attend as they wish.
So that work program, we already approved that.
Yes, that's all in our scope of work for the project.
And so the consultant and the program manager, that's the consultant, will be spearheading that for us to keep the work on track, because otherwise we don't have enough people.
Yes, we will keep that on track.
Thank you. Are there any other persons who wish to provide public comment or ask
Yes,
questions?
we have Arvind Ramesh.
Good morning.
He's coming in now.
Good morning, guys. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly attend and just advocate for providing as much housing as we can as part of this housing element. It seems like, you guys are already on track to do that, but I know the people that sometimes attend these meetings are very, very sort of anti-housing, and I'm just coming at it from a perspective of basically growing up here and seeing most of my peers get priced out of the area. I graduated high school from Northgate in 2010. And yeah, I just wanted to sort of give everyone a different perspective, rather than the typical sort of older homeowner demographic that comes to these meetings. So anyways, I applaud the work that you guys are doing. And if I had any specifics, I would encourage the housing element to, in addition to providing, dense housing in downtown, also think about upzoning other parts of the community. For example, I live near Rancho Prizo, and it doesn't make much sense that, you can have a 3,000 square foot home, but you can't have two 1,500 square foot homes in the same lot. So yeah, just things to think about. Just wanted to voice support and, let sort of hopefully you guys know that there are people that support housing out there. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And stay tuned. Listen to the explanation of Senate Bill 9.
Sounds
So,
good.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Darling, any comments or questions?
No, I think, was that it for our speakers?
That is all.
Okay, no, I think we're all on a good track, and we look forward to working hard on the housing element and SB 9.
And for Mr. Armish, I just want to assure him that we understand that Walnut Creek has been very pro-housing community for a long time. Our predecessors were as well, and that we recognize that we need housing of all types, all socioeconomic, and all family types. And so 5,805 units is not going to be found just in downtown. If there are no further comments, I think our meeting is adjourned, and we have our next meeting will be Tuesday, December 21st at 9 a.m. and evidently we will be back here. Thank you very much and have a good day.